Have you ever wondered why some people stay stuck in the same place, even though they work hard every single day? Why do some struggle for years, while others seem to rise from nothing? Maybe the real question is this: are we missing something important? Have you ever felt like you had nothing to offer the world? Like no skills, no money, no value? Like no matter what you do, life just doesn't change? What if the problem isn't your situation, but the way you see yourself? Stay with me, because this simple story might change how you think about success forever. At a crowded train station, filled with noise, rushing footsteps, and constant movement, there lived a man who seemed invisible to the world. He was a beggar. Every day, from morning until night, he sat in the same corner, stretching out his hand to strangers passing by. His clothes were worn, his face tired, and his eyes carried a quiet kind of hopelessness. People came and went, rarely noticing him. Some dropped a coin, most didn't. His life was a loop. Wake up, beg, survive, sleep, and repeat. No dreams, no plans, just another day to get through. To him, this wasn't temporary. This was life, and deep inside, he believed this was all he would ever be. But no matter how long he sat there, nothing ever really changed. Some days he barely collected enough money to eat. Other days were even worse. People avoided eye contact. Some ignored him completely, as if he didn't exist. Over time, something inside him began to fade. Not just hope, but belief. He started to see himself as worthless, just a man waiting for scraps from others. He told himself, "This is my fate. This is who I am." And the more he believed it, the more real it became. No matter how many people passed by, his life stayed exactly the same. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like that? Like no matter how hard you try, nothing moves forward? Like you're stuck, watching life pass you by? One day, as the beggar sat in his usual spot, he noticed a man stepping onto the platform. He was sharply dressed, confident, and carried himself with purpose. The beggar thought, "This man must be wealthy. Maybe today, I'll receive something meaningful." So he walked up, stretched out his hand, and asked for money. But instead of reaching for his wallet, the businessman paused and looked him in the eyes. Then he asked a question the beggar had never heard before. "Do you always just take? Or have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar was confused. No one had ever asked him that. "No one," he replied softly. "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I have nothing to give." The businessman shook his head slightly and said, "If you believe you have nothing to give, then why should anyone give you anything? In business, everything is an exchange. If you offer value, people respond. If you don't, they walk away." And just like that, he stepped onto the train and disappeared. But his words didn't. They stayed, echoing in the beggar's mind. That night, the beggar couldn't sleep. He lay there, staring into the darkness, replaying those words again and again. "What do I have to give?" he whispered to himself. For the first time in his life, he wasn't blaming others. He wasn't blaming luck. He was questioning himself. Could it be true? Had he been living all this time expecting something while offering nothing? The thought was uncomfortable, but it felt real. He began to look at his life differently. Maybe the problem wasn't the world ignoring him. Maybe it was that he had nothing to offer in return. And then a deeper question hit him, one that might hit you too. What am I actually giving to the world? Not what I want, but what I give. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped and truly asked yourself that question? Because sometimes, the answer to changing your life starts right there. The next morning, Instead of doing what he had always done, the man tried something different, and near the edge of the station, small wildflowers were growing bright, simple, and often ignored. He picked a few, held them carefully, and returned to his spot. When someone dropped a coin into his hand, he did something unexpected. He smiled and offered them a flower in return. At first, people looked surprised. Some hesitated, but then, slowly, they began to smile back. A few even said, "Thank you." That had never happened before. As the day went on, something strange began to happen. More people stopped, more people gave, and many of them seemed genuinely happy to receive something, even something small. For the first time, he wasn't just taking, he was giving, and that changed everything. But there was one thing he noticed. On days when he ran out of flowers, the coins became fewer again. That's when it truly clicked. People weren't just helping him, they were responding to value. Still, the journey wasn't perfect. Some days, the flowers wilted too quickly. Other days, no matter how hard he tried, people rushed past without stopping. There were moments when doubt crept back in. Is this really working? He wondered. Am I just fooling myself? Old thoughts tried to pull him back into his old identity, the beggar, who had nothing. It would have been easy to quit, to go back to simply holding out his hand and waiting. But something inside him had changed, even on the hard days. He kept going, because deep down, he knew this was different. This wasn't begging anymore. This was the beginning of something new, even if it was still fragile. One afternoon, as he stood there with a small bundle of fresh flowers in his hands, something incredible happened. More people began to stop, not just out of pity, but with curiosity, even appreciation. Some gave more than they ever had before. And then, in the middle of that busy station, he saw a familiar face, the well-dressed businessman. His heart raced. This was the man who had changed everything. He walked up to him, this time with confidence, and said, "Sir, today I have something to offer. If you give me something, I will give you flowers in return." The businessman smiled, handed him money, and accepted the flowers. Then he looked at him and said something he would never forget. "You are no longer a beggar. You are a businessman." In that moment, everything shifted. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about identity. For the first time in his life, he believed it. 6 months later, that same train station looked very different, but not because the place had changed. He had. The man who once sat on the ground, waiting for coins, was now standing tall, dressed neatly, carrying fresh flowers as part of a growing business. He was no longer surviving. He was building something. Customers knew him. Some even came looking for him. His confidence had grown. His mindset had shifted, and his life had completely transformed. He was traveling now, thinking bigger, planning ahead, and when people asked how it all happened, he didn't talk about luck. He talked about one simple truth. Everything changed the moment he stopped asking and started giving. So here's the real question. Are you waiting for life to give you something, or are you ready to offer value first? Because the truth is simple. What you give shapes what you receive. Maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you've just been looking at yourself the wrong way. You have something to offer. You always did. You just have to see it.
The future is bright.
If this story made you think,
And we're
even for a
ready for
moment,
it.
don't ignore it. Share it with someone who needs it. And if you want more
Waiting
stories
to
like this,
receive.
stories that challenge your
Or ready
mindset
to
and push
give.
you forward, subscribe and stay with us. Your next breakthrough might
strength
start
isn't
with a
just
single new
surviving.
thought.